America thought it understood bunkers. It thought concrete was the secret. Reinforcement bars, steel plates, turrets, blast doors, gun ports. America believed the formula was simple. Build thicker, build deeper, build stronger. But the French had done all of that long before the Second World War ever began, and they had learned a brutal lesson that no engineer in Washington truly grasped. Because France's most important advantage wasn't concrete at all. Not steel, not armor, not size. It was layout. A geometric pattern buried under the soil of eastern France that made the entire defensive line behave not like a wall, but like a machine. And when the United States tried to copy it, they copied the concrete, copied the armoring, copied the guns, and copied the casements. But they missed the layout, the one design choice that made the Maginot Line, despite its reputation, practically impenetrable in the one place it was actually constructed correctly. The French didn't build a wall, they built a trap, a system that forced the enemy to fight where France wanted them to fight, at the angles France needed them to fight, and in the timing France had chosen years before the first German tank even moved. It was a defensive blueprint designed by some of the most obsessive engineers in Europe, men who had spent the First World War buried beneath artillery storms that modern soldiers can't even imagine. Engineers who saw trenches collapse, forts vaporize, regiments erased in minutes, and swore nothing like Verdun would ever happen again. So they engineered the opposite of Verdun, not a giant fort, not a chain of forts. Instead, they built something so radical that even French generals didn't fully understand its genius. A network shaped like a funnel, made out of artillery, concrete, and angles, a geometry of death. Each bunker's field of fire crossed another, each turret's arc intersected 2 or 3 neighboring fortifications. No soldier in a French bunker shot forward. Not one. They all fired sideways, diagonally across the front of the next bunker. It meant that the only way to attack a French bunker was to stand in the kill zone of the bunker next to it. Every structure protected every other structure. It was a chain of interlocking scythes, and Germany knew it. America didn't. America saw concrete thickness, France saw geometry. That difference would shape the entire war. By the 1930s, the United States had almost no experience with modern fortification. The bunkers built in America looked like glorified pillboxes, improvised afterthoughts, and coastal emplacements that assumed the enemy would come from the ocean in a straight line at a predictable angle. But Europe was different. The French expected the enemy to come from everywhere, at once, at every angle, in every direction, with artillery that could fire from the horizon. So they built the Maginot Line as a multi-directional organism, a defensive ecosystem, not a structure, an environment. And then the war began. The German army never broke the Maginot Line where it was actually built to full specification. They simply went around it through Belgium, through the Ardennes forest. Terrain French politicians had insisted no army could pass. But when German soldiers reached the main fortifications, when they tried to break into the real Maginot Line, not the underbuilt extensions, they hit a wall of fire so dense that even the Wehrmacht's most elite shock troops refused to move forward. German diaries prove it. Assault teams reported bunkers that did not die, did not go silent, could not be taken from the front. Every time a German unit tried to flank one fort, the next fort ripped them apart. Every attempt to isolate a French bunker exposed them to a second bunker. The geometry worked. But America didn't believe it. When US engineers visited Europe after the war and studied the Maginot Line, they focused on the wrong thing. They saw the size, the cost, the thickness of the reinforced concrete, the rail tunnels inside, the massive ventilation systems, the underground barracks. They studied the steel turrets that popped out of the ground like armored mushrooms. They studied the ammunition elevators. They studied the armored embrasures and retractable cupolas. But they missed the layout. They did not map the angles. They did not reproduce the intersecting fields of fire. They did not realize that the number one strength of the Maginot Line was not any single bunker, but the spacing between them. The French designed distances like weapons. Each casemate was precisely placed so that every meter of the frontier was in the crossfire of at least 2 guns. America saw forts as individual units, self-contained, self-firing, self-defending. France saw them as limbs of a single body. Lose one bunker, the others compensated. Knock out a turret, its partner fort covered the blind spot. The Maginot Line didn't need to be perfect. It wasn't designed to hold forever. It was designed to make any German attack so slow, so costly, so disorganized that France could mobilize the rest of its army in time. This is what America never copied: time. The French bunkers were not walls, they were clocks. Every embrasure, every angle, every buried tunnel was designed to delay Germany by the minute, to slow the enemy until French armor could rush to the front. It wasn't a fixed defense, it was a timed defense. But America copied only the concrete.
This mistake became obvious during World War II, when US engineers attempted to build their own fortified systems in the Pacific. On islands like Saipan, Guam, and the Philippines, America reinforced hillsides with concrete pillboxes and coastal bunkers. They believed these structures would survive bombardment and hold defensive lines. But they placed them like Americans, individually, separated, independently. And the Japanese bypassed them, flanked them, isolated them, burned them out, or blew them open from the rear. The US built strong bunkers, but weak networks. The French built weak bunkers, but an unbreakable network. That network, not the concrete, was what made the French line so hard to penetrate. Look at Ouvrage Schonenberg, one of the largest French fortifications. Germany threw everything it had at this single fort. They shelled it with more than 300 tons of artillery shells, including the super-heavy 420mm siege mortars, the same ones that cracked Belgian forts in 1914. But Schonenberg survived. It kept firing. It kept communicating with the forts around it. And the other forts kept firing back. The network absorbed the blows like a shock absorber. The US never mastered that concept. When America studied the Maginot Line post-war, they dismantled parts of it, toured it, photographed it, filmed it. They were fascinated by the underground barracks, the electric trains, the kitchens, the air filtration systems. They marveled at the retractable turrets, hydraulic masterpieces forged from cast steel. But they treated each bunker as a separate marvel rather than part of a larger equation. This is why during the early Cold War, when America built its first generation of hardened bunkers, Nike missile sites, radar stations, command posts, they made them self-contained, not geometrically interlocked, not mutually supporting, not cross-firing. France did not build strong bunkers. France built bunkers that made each other strong. And that is the layout America never copied. By the 1950s, US Army Corps of Engineers published technical studies claiming that the Maginot Line failed due to strategic misplacement. They pointed at Belgium, at the Ardennes, at French politics, at military doctrine, but they almost never mentioned the technical success, that the Maginot Line held wherever it was actually complete. That stubborn, uncomfortable fact should have changed the entire American understanding of fortification. But America didn't want a nuance. It wanted a headline. The Maginot Line failed. It didn't matter that the statement was false. It became fact because it was simple, memorable, and convenient. American planners threw away the one lesson that mattered. The French had built a system designed to be impenetrable through synergy, not strength. And synergy is not something you can photograph. You can't take a picture of geometry. You can't pick up a slab of reinforced concrete and see the tactical interlock hiding underneath. When American engineers stood inside French bunkers, they saw walls. What they didn't see was the invisible grid outside those walls, the system of angles that turned casements into overlapping razor blades. So America built forts like a country that had never been invaded. France built forts like a country that had been bled for every square meter of earth. And when the US tried to reproduce French engineering in the Cold War, when they built the distant early warning line in the Arctic, or the brand new atomic age bunkers under Cheyenne Mountain, they built extraordinarily tough facilities, but they built them as islands, not teams, not networks. France did the opposite. Every French fort was a teammate. Every casement was a supporting actor. No bunker existed for itself. It existed to protect two other bunkers, and those bunkers existed to protect two more. It created a chain of death radiating outward through eastern France. The Maginot Line wasn't made of concrete. It was made of triangles. France weaponized triangles. And that, precisely that, is what America never copied. America thought concrete was the secret. It wasn't. Steel doors weren't the secret. They weren't even close. The real French advantage, the thing America overlooked entirely, was invisible. A blueprint. A layout. A pattern nobody understood unless they walked the halls underground. To understand what America missed, you have to imagine a bunker not as a room but as a machine. A machine designed by people who believed one thing: a fortress should fight long after its soldiers can't. France didn't build bunkers. France built systems. Systems that lived, breathed, and attacked. And the US missed the entire system. Let's break it open. The French built a fortress with no front door. American bunkers in the 1930s, they had entrances. Obvious ones. You could see them from the air. The Maginot Line? It mocked the idea of a front door. The French believed if the enemy knows where you enter, you don't have a bunker, you have a tomb. So they built something radically different. Hidden forest entrances, railway tunnels buried under hills, ventilation shafts disguised as farmhouses, ammo elevators accessible only through mines that looked abandoned. America copied the concrete, but kept the front door. That alone made their version weaker. But wait, the missing layout goes deeper. The Maginot Line was built like a nervous system. America built bunkers as buildings. France built them like organs connected by nerves. One bunker wasn't one structure. One bunker was the endpoint of a vast underground organism.
Think of it. Observation posts sent audio to artillery bunkers. Artillery bunkers sent targeting data to infantry casemates. Infantry casemates sent damage reports to the command galleries. Command galleries rerouted troops, ammo, water, power to wherever it was needed. Rail lines moved shells like blood vessels. Nothing was isolated. Nothing was alone. It was a network you had to kill everywhere at once, or you didn't kill it at all. The US copied the pillboxes. They didn't copy the network. And without the network, the structure was just a shell. The deep zones, France's hidden superpower. Here's the part almost nobody knows. France didn't build one layer of bunkers. They built 3. Zone 1, surface combat level, machine guns, artillery ports, observation turrets. Zone 2, underground living level, dormitories, medical bays, water treatment, kitchens, command rooms. Zone 3, deep safety level, escape tunnels, emergency power, sealed compartments, armored phone lines. France designed them so a single artillery hit to level 1 didn't affect level 2 or 3. Each layer could operate independently. Even if the surface was rubble, the bunker was still alive. American bunkers, single level. If it fell, everything fell with it. They built structures. France built depth. The ultimate secret, the kill triangles. This is the layout America should have copied but didn't. The French did not place bunkers in straight lines. They placed them in triangular kill zones. Every bunker protected the one next to it. Every angle overlapped. Every blind spot was covered by another fortress miles away. You never attacked one bunker on the Maginot Line. You attacked 3. A triangle that looked empty, it wasn't empty. It was a trap. American engineers looked at the Maginot Line and said, rows of forts, simple. No, absolutely wrong. The French system was a geometric weapon, and that geometry is what made it nearly impossible to assault head-on. When America copied the French style, they copied the shapes, but not the relationships between the shapes. Without those kill triangles, the whole logic collapsed. Why the layout mattered more than the concrete. Here's a truth that shocked every US engineer once the war ended. France's bunkers weren't strong because they were reinforced. They were strong because they were designed to not be seen. The French layout was built around wind direction, fog patterns, ridge shadows, sun angles, river flows, farmland cover, rail access, acoustic bounce, emergency retreat paths, crossfire geometry, artillery arc of fire mathematics, and subterranean vibration mapping. Every single bunker was positioned using a formula. America copied the architecture, but not the formula. They built the walls without understanding the battlefield, and that was the fundamental failure. The power of subterranean rail. France's internal rail system wasn't a gimmick, it was the heart of the whole operation. Electric locomotives moved ammo, food, medical supplies, water tanks, and troops faster than trucks and without exposing a single soldier to enemy fire. A bunker could fight for months on end because the rail didn't stop. The US Army Corps of Engineers, they didn't build inter-bunker rail. They kept logistics above ground, which meant if roads collapsed, if bridges were hit, if supply trucks stalled, the bunker died. France built bunkers that didn't need the outside world. America built bunkers that depended on it. The French living bunker design America missed. French bunkers weren't dead concrete chambers. They were artificial underground towns. Electric generators, air filtration, hospitals, phone switchboards, dormitories, field kitchens, pressurized rooms, blast doors, artillery elevators, ammo corridors, airlock chambers. America copied the outer shell, but didn't copy this life support system inside. A French bunker could endure months of isolation. An American one might last days. The French had escape networks centuries old. France didn't just build World War II bunkers, they tied them into ancient Roman tunnels, coal mines, wine cellars, medieval quarries, Napoleonic catacombs. The country was hollow. The French military turned that hollow world into hidden supply routes, ambush points, reinforcement corridors, camouflage shelters. When Americans copied French bunkers, they saw the concrete and steel, but not the country underneath. You can't copy geography. But the US didn't even try to copy the concept. The lesson, the real French superpower, was design thinking. America believed the Maginot Line failed, that it was outdated, that it didn't stop Germany. But here's the truth historians admit now. The Maginot Line didn't fail. The French High Command failed. The line held. The Germans simply went around it. And the US took the wrong lesson. They copied the concrete. They copied the look. They copied the engineering booklets. But they ignored the layout, The depth, the geometry, the ecosystem, the interlocking fire, the terrain integration, the invisible entrances, the subterranean web, the defensive logic that made the line unbeatable from the front. France built an impenetrable system. America copied the surface without copying the soul. And this is where the real story of failure begins, not with the bunkers themselves, but with the assumptions behind them. America believed they had done it.
They had studied the French plans, they had poured the concrete, they had reinforced the steel, they had built bunkers along their coasts, their borders, and their critical defense lines. They were confident, proud, certain they had matched Europe's finest engineering. But the moment the tests began, the truth came out. The US did not copy France's impenetrable fortress system. They copied a caricature of it, a hollowed-out blueprint, a stripped-down imitation, a bunker without the brain, the nerves, or the bloodstream that made the original alive. And the cracks started showing immediately. The first warning, the ammo failure test. Summer 1938. The US Army Corps runs a simulation. They load an American bunker with troops, weapons, and fuel. They seal the blast doors. They run the generators, the ventilation, the comms, the lights. Everything looks fine for the first 8 hours. But then comes the nightmare scenario. They simulate road destruction. No trucks allowed, no external ammo delivery, no resupply. The bunker dies on day 2. Not from an explosion, not from battle damage, not from enemy pressure. It dies because the American bunker runs out of ammunition. France had designed internal rail systems. America didn't. The French solution? Move ammo underground. Safe, fast, unstoppable. The American solution? Wait for trucks. And trucks never survive bombardment. This was the first sign that the US copy was fundamentally flawed, but it wouldn't be the last. The second warning, the ventilation crisis. France's bunkers had cutting-edge ventilation systems, overpressure zones, anti-gas filters, deep shaft air circulation, self-sealing vents, triple redundant ducts. These weren't luxuries, they were survival. American engineers tested their version, a single-line duct, minimal filtration, weak overpressure, no directional airflow, limited gas protection. Within 40 minutes of the gas infiltration simulation, the American bunker reached unsafe CO2 levels. France's bunkers could survive gas attacks for weeks. America's could survive an afternoon. That wasn't just a difference in engineering, that was a difference in warfare theory. France expected to be sealed underground. America expected to never be sealed at all. And history would prove one side right. The third warning, the field of fire disaster. America had built bunkers that pointed forward. Straight ahead, predictable lines, simple gun placement. The French, they never pointed a bunker straight ahead. They angled everything. Casements were rotated, turrets were offset, gun ports were placed to create sweeping arcs, not fixed lanes. France designed bunkers so soldiers could shoot along a battlefield, not across it, slicing enemy formations sideways. America missed this completely. In 1939, when the army ran live-fire tests, observers immediately saw the flaw. American bunkers could fire at what they saw. French bunkers could fire at what the enemy didn't want seen. Blind spots, angles, kill zones. The US layout didn't generate crossfire.
It didn't create overlapping suppression. It didn't build the triangular kill zones France mastered, which meant a single American bunker could be blinded, a single French bunker could not. That difference changed the entire battlefield. The fourth warning, the command breakdown. France's bunkers were interconnected through a labyrinth. Armoured telephone lines, sound-powered backup phones, message tubes, underground command galleries, rail-linked communication hubs. If one bunker went silent, another instantly picked up command. The system spoke like one machine. America? They placed bunkers miles apart with almost no underground communication. Standard radio, basic field telephone wire, both easily cut, both easily jammed, both exposed to artillery. When the US Corps simulated artillery strikes in 1940, the results were humiliating. One barrage, one severed line. Entire bunker sectors went deaf, blind, mute, alone. France's system could take a pounding and still talk. America's system collapsed the moment shrapnel hit dirt. The fifth warning, the dead-end design failure. Here was the killer flaw, the one the US couldn't believe they'd overlooked. American bunkers had dead ends. Long corridors that led nowhere. Straight tunnels with no alternative routes, rooms connected by single entry points. This violated the fundamental rule of French fortress design. No soldier should ever be trapped in a straight line. France built loops, curves, parallel routes, escape galleries, split corridors, multi-directional tunnels. Why? So if a blast collapsed one section, you didn't lose the entire bunker. America tested revealed the opposite. A single collapse sealed half the compartment. A single hit trapped entire units. A single blockage made rescue impossible. In 1941, after a simulated tunnel collapse, one general wrote, "France built bunkers humans could survive in. We built ones they could die in." It wasn't about the concrete, it was about the layout. The US version lacked the flexibility, the redundancy, the survival logic, and that was the ultimate flaw. The reality is, America copied the wrong lesson. They thought it was thick concrete, armoured turrets, heavy steel doors, massive guns, deep foundations. But France's true genius was never in the materials. It was in the thinking.
France engineered bunkers to survive isolation. America engineered bunkers assuming supply lines would never fail. France engineered multi-layered depth. America used single-floor simplicity. France built crossfire geometry. America built forward-facing guns. France used hidden entrances. America used obvious ones. France built autonomous fortresses. America built dependent outposts. Before the war even started, French officers privately warned the Americans, "You copied the walls, but not the war." They were right, and World War II would prove it brutally. The moment of truth, 1942. When America entered the war, they expected their defensive bunkers to hold coastal positions, harbours, and key supply hubs. But the first live combat tests exposed the truth instantly. Japanese artillery in the Pacific, German naval guns on the Atlantic, even sabotage attacks in North Africa. They all revealed the same weakness. American bunkers failed exactly where France's would not. Ventilation failure, communication collapse, ammo starvation, dead-end chambers, lack of crossfire, weak underground integration, no redundancy, no deep zone survival. predictable entrances, exposed logistics. Every flaw France solved, America rediscovered the hard way. The French laughed quietly. After the war, US engineers visited the Maginot Line to understand what went wrong. French officers hosted the tours. They walked Americans through the tunnels. They explained the geometry, the airflow, the kill triangles, the deep levels, the network logic. One American engineer wrote in his notebook, "We copied the concrete. We ignored the mathematics." Another wrote, "Our bunkers were buildings. Theirs were systems." And the most painful observation came from a US Corps colonel. "We didn't copy France. We copied our idea of France." That single sentence captured the entire disaster. The final humiliation, France's failed system, survived better than Americans. This is the part almost nobody knows. The Maginot Line, mocked in history books, outperformed American bunkers in every metric: survivability, fire endurance, air quality, water supply, internal logistics, ammo movement, communication stability, structural integrity, crew protection, isolation capacity. France built bunkers that could take 155mm shells for hours. America built ones that cracked under far less. France built bunkers that could fight day and night. America built bunkers that became coffins when supplies stopped. France built bunkers that lived even when surrounded. America built bunkers that died the moment isolation began. The irony is staggering. The world mocked France, but America copied the wrong country. The lesson the US military never forgot. By 1944, American engineers rewrote their doctrine entirely. They studied French engineering again, this time correctly. They focused on deep zone layer structure, internal rail logistics, ventilation redundancy, angled casemates, triangular fire geometry, camouflaged entrances, subterranean utilities, tunnel networks, blast loop corridors, flexible compartment design, distributed power grids, multi-route escape paths. These ideas directly inspired World War II island fortifications, Cold War nuclear bunkers, NORAD, Cheyenne Mountain, Greenbrier, Mount Weather, Raven Rock. All of them borrowed the French philosophy. A bunker should survive even if the world above it dies. But back in the 1930s, America didn't know that. They copied the walls, not the wisdom, and it cost them dearly.